And everybody else who's watching, how are y'all doing today? It's Jay and Jamie with the Triple J Show, and we've got a special show for you today.
Yes, we are on the road.
We've got Triple J Road Show. We have a different background, a different location. We are not even in Texas. In fact, you may be asking yourself, Father Jay, why are you wearing a sweatshirt? Why is Jamie wearing a jacket? No, she's not joined the National Guard.
Can I just tell you?
It's chilly where we are.
This is something kind of funny. So the stool that I'm sitting on, it's metal, and we didn't really try this out too well. I keep sliding off the stool.
Well, so there's something we didn't anticipate happening right there.
New location, new challenges.
That's right.
Always. Hopefully y'all can hear me.
So we are actually in Colorado this morning. We have a road trip to Colorado to drop off one of our children at school. And so we are coming at you live from the Rocky Mountain State, and it is 64 degrees outside. That's right, 64 degrees. We are going to go help not an intern, we don't really have an intern with us today. We left her in San Antonio, but we brought a roadie with us. And our roadie does not know the password to my computer, and it had timed out, and now we're trying to get into that. So
okay,
I'm going to turn things over to Jamie.
Spots.
And I'm going to go work on our password computer.
How fun.
Yay.
You know what? And you might want to grab a phone and see how we're doing here.
Well, my phone's actually on the computer, babe. I mean, that's what we're shooting with.
We have no idea. We're like kind of shooting in the dark. Anybody there? We'll just wait. We'll wait to get all this like hammered out. We'll wait to get it all settled. How are you guys? How are you guys doing? So here in Colorado, it is, like Jay said, 64 degrees. It is sunny. The sun rose a little earlier this morning than it does at home. I believe at 5:40 there was light. 5:40, which I love. But I don't know, how many morning people do we have out there? Would you rather it be light in the morning, early, so you get up and get going? Or would you rather have more light in the evening? Interesting question. I can't wait to see. I don't remember what time it got dark last night because we were so busy moving. We are moving a child. Moving a child. We had a big U-Haul full of stuff, setting up an apartment, fun stuff. So today we're going to be talking about rules of, well, some people call it a rule of life. I prefer rhythm of life. We're going to be talking about
rhythm of life. That's different from the rhythm method, in case you were wondering. That's always what it makes me think of when she says that.
Yikes.
Rhythm method, rhythm of life.
Well, I would prefer rhythm. Now you got me all messed up. Rhythm
See, I would say
life.
spiritual discipline.
Oh, but that discipline word gets all like, now it's all rigid and it's law. It reminds me of like, it reminds me of law abiding. Like I've got to.
But it's about being disciplined.
Right, which is not natural to my
thing.
personality.
Okay, well, there we go. Here's some personality difference right there. So, what about spiritual practices? Like
yes,
we have to practice.
That's what I like. I think spiritual practice, we started talking about spiritual practices last week, and we're going to continue today.
Okay.
I like practice better because we are practicing. We never fully come into being perfect at it. Mm-hmm. And we are just practicing being in the presence of God.
Okay.
And it takes practice, which practice means, you've got to do it in a disciplined way. You've got to do it regularly if you want to really grow. Athletes practice
for a reason.
Every single day to get better, to know the sport better, to know the opponent better, to know the team better. There's reasons that we practice. Yeah. And so I like calling it spiritual practices and just practicing being in the presence of God.
But the rhythm of life idea is something that we see in our daily lives already, right?
Correct.
I mean, think about when your household goes to the grocery store. whomever is the grocery store shopper in your house. Usually for us, that's Jamie, but here lately, she's had a lot of schoolwork to do. So it's been me. I've been the grocery store shopper person.
And you're doing some special eating.
Yeah, so I have to
You're
get
doing some special healthy
specific
eating.
food.
So you're getting your
Yeah.
specific things. Yeah.
So when does that happen in your house? I would bet that it happens about the same time every week. I bet that that's not haphazard, that there's a routine to that. When is laundry done? There's a routine to that. When are bills paid? There's a routine to that. What does the structure of your weekends look like? I would bet there is some routine there, and that's normal. That's how we live our lives. We are creatures who build habit in where things are important to us. If you're a gym person, do you go to the gym on a routine basis, like you go Monday evening, Tuesday morning, Wednesday night? Do you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Do you go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday? How does that work out? If you are somebody who...
Well, that makes me think.
Yeah.
Talking about that kind of, because that was kind of a haphazard rhythm that you had there, Monday night, Tuesday morning. That may work for some people.
Not if you do it every week.
Right. But I think that's the point. You know what? I totally missed my point.
Okay, so she has a point.
I did.
She always does.
I did. Does that ever happen to you guys? Totally. It came in and it was there and I was going to say it and then it disappeared.
And I bet it was good too.
It was so good.
Man.
It was so good. Well, I think...
Something about haphazard.
Right. So if you just wake up Monday morning and you don't have a routine and you're like, so I wonder what I'm going to do today. I think I should go to the gym. And it's not part of your routine. How likely are you really to go to the gym?
Yeah.
There are other things that sneak in.
Sure.
Always.
Sure.
Always. I would say our society places work as the most important thing.
Sure.
Right? We've got to feed ourselves.
Time-wise, that's where we dedicate our time.
That's where we dedicate our time and our discipline. Most people say, well, but I got to work.
Yeah.
But that interrupts, I'm working at that time or, we schedule things around our work life in America. I would say that's very, very true that most things are scheduled around our work life. And so...
Fair enough.
Right. And so we place work at a pretty high importance. We can schedule things around our work life and we can cancel things around our work life. We cannot obligate things because of our work life. And I just think we need to evaluate the importance that we place in work, which is important. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
We got to pay for life. But maybe reevaluate some of the other things in our life of what's important to us.
Well, I hope actually that's one of the things that's going on. One of the hidden blessings of the COVID crisis is as our work structures have changed, and we're hearing more and more people saying, well, my company is saying we're not going to go back to in-person work, or my company is saying we're going to be out for another year, or, hey, this working from home thing is going to be permanent. It may not be every day, but that's going to be a permanent piece of our work life from now on. As we incorporate these changes, I hope that enables us to create a better balance where we are able to be present more to ourselves and to our families.
I think it creates some anxiety. I know for some people, hearing that they're going to be trying to work from home and they've never done that before or they haven't done it regularly, I know that brings a huge amount of anxiety because what is my routine going to look like?
You got to make a new one.
And now's the time. And I think this is so appropriate.
Maybe we should do a series on how to work from home.
Well, because we've done it for 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's church planting is working at home. In fact, I work from home so much. When we moved to San Antonio, we moved in the summer and started planting Grace Church in the middle of the summer. And Emily went to school, kindergarten, pre-K. She was pre-K.
She was pre-K.
And the teacher asked her, what does your daddy do? And she said, well, my daddy used to work at a church, and now he sits at home and plays on his computer all day. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's church planting to a 3-year-old.
Well, right. He just sits down at his computer all day at home.
Because in Seguin, where I was the priest before, Jamie would bring her up and she would spend time with me in my office at the church. And the ladies at the church knew her, and the staff at the church knew her,
Well, and
she
you
would
had a
hang out with me a little
routine.
bit.
This is where we're going with this, if you're wondering.
Oh, yeah,
You had a
you're right.
routine of getting up in the morning, getting ready, leaving the house,
And I would take them to school.
you would take them to school and going to church, going to your office at
Yeah.
the church. And so you had this routine, this rhythm of life of, and that's what I think that's what I meant to say about the work is we set our rhythm of life around our work life
Yes.
in America.
And then the second thing after work life is kids' life.
Kids' lives, right. So work life, kids' life, and my routine then becomes my work life and my kids' life. And where do I fit God in that?
Where do I fit me in that?
Where do I fit me in that? Where do I fit time for my spirituality, my emotional health, my mental health, my physical health? And so if you don't place it intentionally in your day, it's not going to happen.
Not at all.
Just like gym time, probably, if you don't place it intentionally in your day, in your week, it's not happening.
Yeah.
I used to work out really early in the morning.
Really early.
I would get up, 4:30, and
Like deer hunter early.
that's not that.
Crazy.
4:30 is not that. I mean, you get up at 4:30, you work out at 5. That's not that early. Anyway, I used to work out really early in the morning because it's the only time no one else wanted me.
Mm-hmm.
As a young mom, well, even when we were first married,
Yeah.
that became my rhythm of life, is getting up really early, getting to the gym and getting my workout done before my work day.
Yeah.
So I would get it in, so I would fit it in because it's the only time. And then I went back to school to get a master's, and so I was going to school at night. And you think you're going to fit the gym time in between work and school, or you think you're going to fit it in after, and you're exhausted at night, right? And so for me, I have a natural rhythm to my body, which I think is really important to talk about when we talk about the rhythm of life. Is
Not the rhythm method. It's a different. Yeah, we'll get to you later.
Okay, so anyway, we set our rhythms around our work and around our kids' lives, and where do we go? And we've got to think about what is our natural inclination. I love morning time.
Yep.
I don't know why. I've kind of always been like that. I just like sunrises. I love the morning time.
She will get up to watch the sunrise.
By
For real.
By 8:30 and 9 at night, I'm kind of, my natural body inclination is just already kind of headed down.
Yeah.
And so I go with that. So morning is my time
Your time.
where I like to spend time with God. I put it priority because nobody else wants me at that time. If I get up before the rest of the house,
I always want you, babe.
nobody wants my time or attention.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Nobody needs my
Yes.
skills, my talents at that time. So getting up early to me is really important, but that's not going to be for everyone.
Because you know what's funny? You want to know how you know that God has a sense of humor? I'm a night person. I would much, much rather stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning and sleep until 10 a.m. And I would like to change the world
At
that
night.
way. Like that's how I would like to structure the world. I believe the workday should begin at 11. And that's why I want to go
my
to
day's
Spain.
almost done. My day is almost done
That's
by
why
11.
I want to go to Spain, because they have dinner at like 10 o'clock at night. Brilliant.
That's horrible. I would be asleep in my dinner plate.
I want to hang out with
Anybody
those people.
else?
Those are my kind of
Asleep in my
folks
dinner
right
plate.
there.
My face would be covered in.
España.
I guess they don't eat spaghetti in Spain. Do they eat spaghetti in Spain? Look at that. Spaghetti in Spain.
Alliteration.
My face would be in my tapas.
There you go. Excellent. So there are natural rhythms that you have just based on who you are, based on your personality, based on your stage of life, based on your relationship, your familial status, based on your work life, that are going to be there. And so,
And your stages of life change.
yes, they do.
And so your rhythms are going to change.
Absolutely.
And staying home for work, when you used to get up and get out of the house and go to work,
Big change.
It's changing your rhythm. And I think that's what is happening to a lot of people, is their rhythms are changed, and it feels chaotic, even though you're in your home and you can't figure it out, right?
Yeah.
You can't figure out why this is increasing your anxiety.
Right.
It's because your rhythms have changed.
And
And the space that you spend your days in has changed, and your body is used to a certain rhythm, getting up, getting out of the house, and it has certain cues of health and wellness for you, and you're not getting those.
And one of the things that you need to do if you're going to work at home is you need to reset your expectations for that. And one of the things that you can do is you can make a workspace in your house that is only workspace. Nothing else goes on there. As though you went out the front door and drove around the block and came back to your house and walked into your office and went to your office space.
Right.
And that you keep that sacrosanct. It is set apart and nothing else goes on there. And that's one of the ways that you can create that rhythm. Because when you're at your workplace, your physical workspace, the kids don't just walk in. And nobody says, hey, would you get the dog some water? And you don't answer the door because the Amazon guy's dropping off a package. So you've got to institute those same practices so that you can get some separation between your work life and your home life. That's one of the secrets of creating
for sure.
A
That's why
rhythm
we
for
have
working
so
at
many.
home.
I think that's why we have so many reading chairs. Not only do we love to read, but we have so many reading chairs in our home
Yeah.
because we read for different functions
Yeah,
in
yeah,
different chairs.
yeah.
Our enjoyment reading chair is something different
Yes.
than our
Work-
work prep
yeah.
chair, different than my study chair,
Mm-hmm.
different than my reading for seminary chair.
And that sounds crazy when you say it that way.
But it's
like,
space. It's very spatial.
It really, really is. So
I think, you know what, the first thing in spiritual practices is you've got to find a set apart space.
So the whole rhythm of life spiritual practices thing that we are talking about, that we have these natural rhythms, and that if this is what we do with work, and this is what we do with family, this is what we do with kids' lives and events and things like that, then the simple question is, if God is important to you, how do you work that into your life? How do you work God into your life on a daily basis and on a weekly basis? Ideally, you would add to it monthly, quarterly, and yearly, I think, but that's a little over the top for most of us. So let's just think about daily and weekly.
Yeah, I think that's
Right?
You start with one thing. Don't when we throw out spiritual practices to you over the next several weeks,
You can't institute them all.
don't try to institute them all at once.
It'll make you miserable and you'll quit and give up on all of them.
Right. We pick one that we're going to pick to implement in our day.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend 15 minutes at most doing it.
At
If you're
most.
not used to doing that practice.
Yeah.
For some practices, when I began centering prayer, you begin centering prayer with 2 minutes, and to some people that's too much for centering prayer because of the type of prayer it is.
Right.
That won't be for everyone, but we start with something that is doable. So we don't say, I'm going to sit down and study my Bible for an hour every day if you're not used to doing that.
No.
So something very, very doable, something very easy to implement in your day. If God is important to you, this is what I liken it to a lot of times, is I love my husband dearly, and I want to connect with him every single day.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
is so important to me,
Super
and I
important.
love him so much that I want to connect with him. Now, he and I have a relationship. We enjoy connecting throughout the day. Our relationship is such that we have to connect throughout the day in different ways.
Yeah. We talk or we text or
We talk or we text or I walk into his office when it's clearly set apart time for office time.
Knock, knock,
If
knock.
I want
Hello.
to see him, I go see him in the office.
she needs to make an appointment. Really.
Okay. Anyway, I'm his wife. Anyway, we're important to each other. So we make time for each other.
Yes.
And if God is important to you, you make time to spend with God. The way you do that will be highly dependent on who you are, how He's created you,
You bet.
your relationship with Him.
Yeah.
If you've never done it before, it's going to be like dating. If you've never spent time with Him every single day, it's going to be a little bit like dating God, and it's you're going to have to kind of like navigate. Why is that so funny?
Because I'm thinking cologne, awkward silences, and expensive.
Well, I don't
Is
know.
that really what it's like?
Here's the one thing I do know about God. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the cologne and the clothes and the getting pretty. He knows who you are, stripped down, naked. He created you, and so there is no getting pretty for God.
Where would you take God for dinner?
Oh my gosh, what a great question.
Not a barbecue place.
Why?
Pork. God's not going to eat pork.
He might. You mean Jesus wouldn't eat pork? God might eat pork. Just a God.
Well, I mean, He
Trinity.
gave
Anyway.
the law. I'm just saying. Safe side.
But the law was temporary, J. George.
Okay, but safe side, we would have to go no pork, right? So that's no ribs, no barbecue.
Can I just say the time when I was a drug rep, when I was in pharmaceutical sales? Oh my gosh, this is so funny. I had a catering company that I used. I did lunches and breakfast every single day. It's part of sales.
Not for her, for doctor's offices.
For doctor's offices. Yeah. So, and this was back in a time, by the way, it has changed, and that's why I don't do it anymore. The environment has changed. But this is back in a time when we did lavish lunches. So I had a catering company that I used to deliver my meals every day, breakfast and lunch every day, different offices, so I would, hop in and the meal would already be there. So I didn't have to carry in food and stuff. So I used this she was amazing. So good.
So good.
And she kept track of what she took to each office for me. So I didn't have to order the food.
Even better.
Like she was everything she made was incredible. And I just told her the office, and she kept track of the last time she went to that office and what she served. She even kept track if another rep had used her in that office, what she served last time.
So they didn't get the
same thing. And so I walk in one day, and I was going to see, I cannot remember, it was an obvious Lieberwitz or something. It was Rabinowitz. So I was taking lunch and I walk in and I was like, oh Lord, it was pork tenderloin.
For the Jewish doctor.
And the doctor came in and said, nice, you serve pork to the Jew. And he walked right back out.
No sale.
He was a great customer. Yeah. He had a great sense of humor, but hey, don't get your catering company to deliver pork tenderloin to the Jewish doctor.
Or if you're going to take God on a date, then I'm just saying, be on the safe side.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe Mexican food? Italian? Maybe Italian, the Vatican's there.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be like the go-to.
And it's romantic. I like to think of.
All right, so
quiet.
Where would you take God on a first date? That's a big question that you could answer. You give us some comments on that.
Maybe it's breakfast because, I like morning time. So maybe I'm taking God to breakfast. Maybe I'm cooking for him at my breakfast table.
I'm going to assume that God's not awake before lunchtime because why would he be? He's God.
Sunrise. He is awake with the sun. He's always awake, by the way. Okay.
Very true. So
anyway,
what were we talking about?
We're talking about spiritual practices,
rhythm
of life, implementing, doing something manageable.
We're gonna introduce you guys to some different practices, some different ideas, some different things that you could incorporate into your spiritual life on a daily or weekly basis over the next few weeks. We'll maybe 6 or 7 of these we'll go through and talk about some different things. For example, worship is something that is a spiritual practice. I don't know what your worship life is like. I don't know if you're somebody who attends worship somewhere, and if so, if you attend regularly or not. I tell people that if you're going to grow in your faith, you need to attend worship regularly and frequently, because once a year is regular, and that's not what we're going for. So regular and frequent is what we're looking for if you want to grow in your spiritual life. So what does that mean to you? If you usually attend worship once every 2 months, maybe you add one and you attend twice every 2 months.
Let's define worship.
Well, it's a strange thing these days, right? Because so much worship is online instead of in person. So that's one of the new dichotomies.
If I wanted to worship every day, how would I do that?
You would do that depending on who you are. Some people need to be inside a building where it's quiet and still. Some people need to be in a group of people. Mm-hmm. And some people really prefer to be outside.
Why did you look at me like that?
I don't know.
I actually like worship in nature. I think we talked about that last week.
Not worshiping nature. That's not what she said. Worship in nature.
I don't worship nature. I worship inside of nature, in trees.
She doesn't go in the tree, but in the midst of trees. This is just getting stranger and stranger. We elide the G in Texas. I don't know if you guys know people from Texas, but we tend to elide the hard G at the end of our words, which means we cut it off. So we say fixin' instead of fixing. That's just the way we talk. So
I worship.
When she says worship in, it sounds like she's saying she's worshiping
that's hilarious.
The nature. And that's not.
I like to go on hikes. I like to go on walks on the beach And God and I talk and I praise him. So we need to talk about the difference between worship and prayer. So I can take a hike in nature and be prayerful about it, which can be worshipful, but worship is praising God.
It's
Worship is just saying, God, I love you. This is amazing. You're amazing. It's offering thanksgivings to him, gratitude, just worshiping, giving him back everything that he's giving you.
It's responding to God from what God has done for you and is doing in you, and it's thanksgiving and praise and adoration. That's really what worship is.
Implementing that in your everyday can be very easy. Maybe you start a gratitude journal that is dedicated purely to God and what he's done in your life. Maybe each morning you just start by writing those things down that you are really thankful to God for, and you're offering them back to God.
Or maybe that sounds absolutely horrible to you and you would rather stab yourself in the face with a fork.
Would you be in that category?
If that's the case, then I would recommend sleeping later and then getting up and going for a walk at some point in your day and spending some time, not in your neighborhood where it's all cement and asphalt, but getting
and every day. I think you've got to get out of you've got to
getting in nature. And I spend time singing. I'm a terrible singer. I mean, absolutely horrible. One of the worst on the planet, quite probably. And yet I enjoy it immensely. Go figure. So one of the ways that I connect with God is by singing. So I will go on walks in a neighborhood park and I will have my earbuds in and listen to praise music and I'll sing. And if my family's with them, it's embarrassing. And if people come up behind me on the trail and I don't know they're there, it's awkward. But you know what? I don't really care. I'm having my thing. It's good. So that's a way to worship God.
I know that some people listen to K-Love or Air One in their car as a way to, on the work, just lift up praise music to God and sing it in the car with God. Just sing along with...
Roll the windows down, I dare you. What?
I know a lot of people who do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's one way you can worship every single day. It's just giving to God what he's given you and praising him for it and giving it back. Yeah. So
that's an easy daily thing that you can do. We've just thrown out 2 examples of a way to worship on your own that you don't need a leader to lead you in, that you can do by yourself. Now, participating in communal worship is another thing.
Also very important.
Absolutely important. It is something that we in America, I think, have gotten much worse at. And I think that we have decided that we can call ourselves Christians and not practice weekly communal worship because we're too busy with other things, and yet pretend that that doesn't matter, that that's okay. When the reality is, if you want to be a football player, you better practice and you better play in the game.
Well, and you got to practice with the team.
Yeah, you got to do it together.
The team is so important in Christianity. Our team, our community, who we do this life with, who God has woven in our lives to worship him with is we are the body of Christ. We are the body of Christ. So we've got to practice being together and worshiping as the body of Christ.
Because there's a difference when we come together as the body.
Yes.
We lean on each other and we connect with each other. And there is a communal connection with God that is different from our individual connection from God. It is greater than the sum of its parts. And when any one of us misses out on that, not only do we miss out individually, but our community misses out. Our community suffers. If your quarterback is hurt and can't practice, the whole offense is off, right? I mean, you sub in the backup guy, but he's been sitting looking at a clipboard for 6 weeks. He didn't know anything. He hadn't even watched any film yet. So there's a difference there and when somebody is not present in the community.
The energy between you, the connection between you is very different.
Right.
And the synergism of that connection and that spiritual connection with each other is off, and it's different.
Yeah.
And you've got to get back in rhythm with each other.
And just think about when we used to go to worship back in February and attend it in a space together.
We will again.
We will
again.
Sooner rather than later, I hope. And you would walk in and go to your spot because I guarantee you have a spot. If you worship regularly, you have a place that you go to. I don't know why, but you do. And you probably know the regular churchgoers who sit around your spot, right? And you look forward to them being there. You look forward to seeing them. You expect to see them there. And when they're not there, there's an absence, right?
Yeah.
So
you feel it.
We miss each other, and it lessens our community when any one of us is not there. So as we practice worship, what I want you guys to know is that worshiping in the community is not something that we just do haphazardly or if we have time. It is part of our practice as Christians, and it is vital to our faith and the faith of our community. I fear that we have developed a fan mentality in America, that we're not really followers of God as much as we are fans of God. And if things go well, then we're good fans. We, maybe we'll read a blog and watch a game, but if things aren't going well, maybe we'll think about switching teams. Maybe we'll just let it go. And instead of participating and being active in the sport, we sit and watch other people do it. And that's not how faith works.
No.
It can't work that way by definition. Right. So it must be something other than faith if that's what our spiritual life looks like. And because we're so busy, and because our work is so demanding, and our kids' schedules are crazy, we've got 3 kids. We totally understand. That's why we want to talk with you guys about this rhythm of life. That's why we want to talk about these spiritual practices, to give you some pieces that you can begin to incorporate in a manageable way that will bring life to you, because it will help you connect with God. The simple reality is that what we value, we spend time with.
Yep.
That's just the
I just
simple
really
reality.
love your fan versus follower. Fans don't have to be dedicated. There are some dedicated fans.
I'm going to change that. Hello.
My mic went out. So I love that fan versus follower idea, because followers have to go through the discipline and the practice. Followers are we're going to go on the hard road. We're going to take the high hike. We're going to, we're getting ready to go on some hikes, and so I'm thinking.
Because we're in Colorado. There's mountains right out the window.
There's literally so
crazy.
We didn't say this in the beginning. We were going to pick some beautiful location for you guys, some beautiful mountainous, background or something. You have our Airbnb fireplace, which Jay this morning said looked like something else.
It looks like the oven that the witch used in Hansel and Gretel. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. It's wood burning. Like there's ceramic around it.
Interesting.
Like it looks like an oven that you would throw kids into. That's all. That's all.
We were gonna pick some beautiful, because the scenery here is just gorgeous. But yesterday we were 2.5 hours later getting here than we anticipated.
Yeah.
We had to get into the apartment by a certain time, and then we started unloading to get the U-Haul back. You know how moving is.
Crazy.
We did not have time to go find a beautiful location.
We did not.
But we are going today, baby.
Yeah.
Because we're going to go in nature, and we are going to do some worshiping with our family together.
Yeah, I thought one of the things we might be able to do this week is do some brief lives on Facebook from different places.
What would y'all think about that? You want us to go live and show you where we are and how we're kind of worshiping in Colorado?
Yeah, some Triple J moments throughout the week.
I think that's a great idea.
All right.
We'll do it.
There we go.
All right, until then, we will be back. We will be here through the week.
Yeah.
Watch for our lives during the week. And we'll be back next week to talk about another spiritual practice. Let us know if you have questions, comments.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. You can always message us. We want this to be as interactive as possible. So y'all let us know what you're thinking.
If you have any questions, if you have specific spiritual practices that you would like to know about, if you have questions about anything like that, hit us in the comments. That's how we'll be able to interact with you, and we'll take it private. We don't have to.
Yeah, you can always message us too.
We don't have to make it public.
You can direct. I don't know what it's called on Facebook. You can message us. You can message us on Facebook.
I don't do that.
If you have our, obviously, if you have
I
our.
don't know how to do that.
Okay, it's time to go.
Wow.
Message us. Give us a message somehow. What would you like to know more about? Is there some spiritual practice that you have always wanted to know more about?
Absolutely.
Is there something that you've maybe practiced a little but you'd like to know more about? Let us know.
So I know that Grace Church worship is going to happen at 10:35 this morning. The magnificent Mike Monroe is going to lead us in morning prayer. There's some alliteration for you. And I hope that you will tune into that. If you're looking for a place to worship, you're always welcome to worship with us online at Grace Church, at Grace Church SA, on our Facebook page, on our Facebook group, and also on our YouTube channel. So until next week, or sometime during this week, it's Jay and Jamie for the Triple J Show. God's peace.
Our producer left.
It's not our producer.